Hello students, welcome back to this new session. In this session, I am continuing the same module, that is calculus of complex functions and construction of analytical functions. In my previous session, we just learned some basic terms, basic important points that you must know before we jump into this topic. Okay, so this session is the actual beginning of your module 1 of M4. Okay, so here I have started with the basic definition of complex function. So by through definition, we will first understand what is a complex function, and then we'll continue with some the calculus of it. Okay, so first we'll speak about complex functions, and then we'll speak about the calculus of complex functions. Okay, so what is a complex function? So as per the definition here I have written for you. So if for every complex variable z is equal to x plus iy, as you know, x is the real part and y is the imaginary part, in the region R of the z plane, there are one or more points w of the form u plus iv, where u is going to behave as a real part and v is going to behave as an imaginary part, then w is said to be a function of z, and it is mathematically written as w is equal to f of z. So if for every point, if for every variable I should say a point or variable, okay, because it's a region R, you have various points, so it represents the variable. So for every point in the region R of the form z is equal to x plus iy, so I have shown it through the figure, it will be more clear to you. Okay, so if for every point in this region R, z belonging to this region R, so this is my z plane, because it's all okay. Why I'm calling this as z plane, because all points here I'm denoting it by z. Okay, so it's a z plane for me. Here x axis, here the real axis, the imaginary axis, and the origin are written there. So you have a region R. In that, for each and every point of this region R, if I am able to find, or I am having one or more points as their images under f, under this function, if I am able to find one or more images of each and every point present in R, then of what form? One or more points of the form w is equal to u plus iv. Okay, so this is happening for each and every point in the region R. I am able to have so many points there as their images. Okay, then I say w as a function of z, or w is equal to f of z, and I write it as u plus iv, or I can write it also as w is equals to f of z, which is equal to u of xy plus I into v of xy. Why I am writing u of xy and v of xy is, here u of xy represents a function of, yes, u of xy I am writing because u is a function of both x and y. Similarly, v is a function of both x and y. So I can give an example for this. Say for example, I am having w is equal to f of z, and the function is suppose z square plus 1. Okay, now if I want to separate, now this is a function, is it not? Now if I replace z by x plus iy over here, okay, let me see what we get. It is f of z is equal to x plus iy, I hope it is seen there, yeah, x plus iy whole square, because it is z square, I am replacing z by x plus iy plus 1, or it is x square expanded by a plus b whole square formula, plus I square y square you get, but I square is minus 1, so you'll get minus y square, plus 2ab, which is 2 times I xy plus 1. So now you are going to collect all your x, all the real part one side and all the imaginary parts one side. So where and all you have I, that will be your imaginary part. Wherever you have terms independent of I, that will be your real part. So x square minus y square plus 1, this is going to be the real part, plus anything which is accompanied with I. So I am going to separate that. So it is 2xy, it is accompanied with I. So you can see that this is my real part, this is my imaginary part. So this is my u, this is my v. Okay, so you can clearly see that u is a function of x and y, v is also the function of x and y. That is why we wrote here f of z, where u and v are the functions of x and y. Okay, this is a brief introduction of your complex function. Okay, now with this we move on to the calculus of complex functions. Now what do I mean by calculus of complex functions? We have already learned limits, continuity, differentiability. That itself is calculus for us. Okay, so now we will study what are limits for any complex function, what is continuity of a complex function, and also what is the differentiability of a complex function. Okay, anyway, we know the definitions very well based on real functions, real valued functions. Now we'll continue the same thing with the complex valued functions and study it in detail. Okay, let's continue with that. Now let us continue with the definition of a limit of a complex function. Okay, limit of a complex function. A function w is equal to f of z is said to tend to a limit L as z tends to a point z naught if for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists delta greater than 0 such that the difference between the f of z for which the point you are considering minus that limit L, the absolute value is less than epsilon for the absolute difference between the points. Okay, or the distance between the points is less than delta. Okay, so this we have learned already in our previous real valued functions calculus of real valued functions. We have already learned the same is being carried out here, but through graphic what will be graphically, how can we write it graphically? I have written it here. See here, for every z naught, this is going to be my z plane because all points are there here as z. Now they are being mapped under the function f, okay, to a w plane. This is my u, this is my imaginary axis iv origin, this is my w plane. Okay, so under this function f we have mapped the points from z plane to w plane. Okay, now this function is said to tend to a limit L. Okay, for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists delta greater than 0 such that the difference between f of z minus L is less than epsilon whenever you have z minus z naught less than delta. So graphically it will be something like this. So you are going to consider any point, or you just consider a small circle. There is a point z naught here on the z plane I have shown you, and there is a z over here, a point z over here somewhere. Okay, so you just consider a small circle of radii delta. Okay, any z is sitting inside that circle, not outside. So whenever, what is z minus z naught less than delta? Absolute value of z minus z naught less than delta means what? Absolute value of z minus z naught is less than delta means absolute value is less than delta means what? It's going to be a small circle, okay, around z naught. If z is within that circle, then f of z minus L, its absolute value will be less than epsilon. On the other hand, we have another circle with center as L, epsilon as the radius, is it not? Since it is a radius, it has to be greater than 0, quite sure. And then there is f of z. If f of z is there, you have f of z over here. I have just made maintainer this just to mention. Okay, so if this f of z will sit inside the circle of radius less than epsilon. Okay, so I mean of radius equal to epsilon I should say, because it is less than epsilon over there. Okay, the difference between absolute value of this is less than epsilon. That is why it means it is sitting inside the circle. I hope it is clear to all of you. Mathematically we can, or graphically we can represent the limit of any function something like this. Now what is going to be the continuity? Now I have told you already, whenever the functional value is equal to the limiting value, then we say the function is continuous. So what do you mean by that? If z is approaching z naught, okay, mod of, first we will write this mathematically, limits first. So limit, so this whole stuff we write mathematically like this. Then we'll go to limits. Okay, the continuity. Limit of f of z as z tending to z naught is equal to L. Mathematically, this stuff we can write like this. Okay. Similarly, we have got continuity definition. Now, as usual, if the limiting value is equal to the functional value, then the function is continuous. So what do you mean by that? You should have now limit as z tending to z0 of f of z, if it is equal to f of z0 itself, then the function is said to be continuous. You know it very well. Okay, the same is followed over here. Okay, like how you have learnt in real valued function, the same is followed for complex valued function as well. Limiting value should be equal to the functional value. The limiting value for f of z as z is tending to z0, if it is equal to f of z0, then it will be a continuous function. So there is nothing much to discuss over here. So graphically also it will be, instead of L you will have here, instead of L you will be having f of z0 over here. Rest everything will be same. Okay. So we write mathematically something like this, and another way of writing this definition is also like this: mod of or absolute value of f of z minus f of z0 is less than epsilon for mod z minus z0 less than delta. So this whole term can be written like this. They are actually the two faces of the same coin. Okay, means this and the previous statement means this as well. Okay, so I hope that point is clear with continuity and the limits of any complex valued function. Now we'll discuss the differentiability of any complex valued function, and then we'll go to what is an analytical function. There are no problems based on this for you, only you have to understand. Okay, and then we'll work on the problems on analytical functions. Now, differentiability of a complex function or the derivative of a complex function, the definition is written there, okay, on your screen. So let me read out it. Let w is equal to f of, it is same as your real valued derivative definition of a real valued derivative of a real valued function. Okay, so let w is equal to f of z be a single valued function of a variable z is equal to x plus iy. Then the derivative of w is equal to f of z is defined to be dw by dz, same as how we define it in real valued, f dash of z, limit as delta z tending to 0, f of z plus delta z minus f of z divided by delta z, provided the limit should exist. This is the basic definition of any real valued function. Okay, only thing is that real value has been replaced by the complex value, nothing else. Okay, provided this limit exists, and the same, it should have same value for all the different ways in which delta z tends to 0. Now as you see, I have shown it through the figure. Now your if z is equal to x plus iy, let me give you one more important point here. If z is equal to x plus iy, what should be delta z? Delta z will be a small variation in z that can occur in many ways. So I can write delta x plus I delta y. Delta z will be delta x plus I delta y. Is it not? Because if there is a small change. Now here delta z, since z is depending on two variables x and y, even if there is a small change in delta x, there will be a change in, and there is no change in delta y, then also there will be a change in delta z. Is it not? Or I should say change in z, not delta z. Similarly, if there is a small change in y, there will be a change in z. Okay, so you will have many ways for which you can take variation in z. Okay, so I have shown it in the figure as well. So as you see, there are 2 points P and Q for me. One is x comma y, P is xy, and Q is x plus delta x comma y plus delta y. Okay, so there are two axes, x axis and the imaginary axis iy over here. And then yes, for each, yes, you just consider a parallel line along with P, just see here. Okay, what will be this point? Since the value for y is no more changing, but still there is a variation in the point z, is it not? It is not same as P, is it not? X plus delta x, I can write it as x plus delta x comma y. What do you say? Similarly, if I take a parallel line along y-axis with P, a parallel line along a parallel line along x-axis through P, if I consider, it will be like this. Similarly, if I consider a parallel line along y-axis or the imaginary axis, what it will be? There will be no change in x, but there is a change in y. So I can write it as y comma, that point will be, or that I have just dropped the perpendiculars from Q also, just see that. Okay, so Since this point is this, just drop a perpendicular on this line. Similarly, drop a perpendicular on this line as well, since we have extended them. Okay, you can understand that figure very clearly. See, so there is no change in x, but there is a change in y there, right? So in all ways, whether you go by this way or by that way or by this way, or you go by this way or go a straight way, then also this derivative should have same value and it should exist. Then we say the given w is equal to f of z is differentiable, or there exists a derivative for that w is equal to f of z. This is a small thing that you must remember. Then along with this, let us now, since you have studied about or you have learnt about the differentiability of a complex valued function, now we'll go for definition of an analytical function. Okay, let us continue with the definition of an analytical function. I hope the differentiability is clear to all of you. There is nothing much, it is same as the definition of a real valued function only, but you should be careful. Since a real valued function was defined with respect to only one variable, and it depends on how you take it. Okay, so now if it is a single line, suppose a function has been defined on a single line, so you had to only consider LHL, RHL, left hand limit, right hand limit, and then check about the continuity of that function, and then check whether the all values are existing and they are all same, then used to say that the function is differentiable. Is it not? Likewise here also the same thing follows, since there is no left hand side or right hand side, because this is a plane surface for you. Okay, it's a plane surface. To approach any point, there will be as many as possible ways you can, because there can be infinite number of lines drawn through a point in any plane. Okay, so since earlier when we were considering only a real valued function and in a given interval, suppose this is a point at which I am considering the differentiability of any function, of a real valued function I am saying. Okay, so f of x was whether I want to check whether the given function, if I am checking for its continuity or differentiability, I had to check its LHL through x approaching a through left hand side, x approaching a through right hand side, and check whether they are same. And if it is equal to f of a, then we say that it is continuous, and you know very well every continuous function is differentiable, is it not? So you could check easily from that, because you had only two things to evaluate. Similarly here also there are ample of ways. Now if any plane is given to you, say for example here, and if there is a point, say here, now here this point is z for me. Okay, now there can be as many as ways I can go through this point. Yes, now for all those ways, if my function w is equal to f of z and dw by dz is having the same value through each and every direction, or in whichever path I am considering, I can consider it as path or locus. Okay, whether I am considering this locus, any locus, if it is giving me the same value through all the locus at that point, then I am going to say that my given function is differentiable, or the derivative exists for that function. This point you need to understand here. That is why I have given this figure for all of you. So I hope the point is clear to all of you. With this, I think it's going to be too long if I continue with the analytical definition, definition of an analytic function, and then continue with the necessary and sufficient condition for any function to be analytic or no. It is better I'll continue in my next session along with analytical functions. Okay, continue in my next section. Till then, thank you.